the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction, the Northwest's only libertarian rock and roll radio show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Curt.
Yes,
the
sir.
Fuck Nelson. My voice of reason, Miss Heather Nixon.
Hello.
We have a very special guest. We always have very special guests. Not only is he a guest and he's special, but he's also our friend. And
Special in a good way, not in the short bus way like some of our other
not,
guests.
Right? No short bus or anything like that.
Not that kind of
Actually,
special.
one of my favorite people on this planet. He really is a good person. Great friend. Mr. Paul Addis, running 36th District, Position 2. Great to have you back.
Thank you.
And we more affectionately call you St. Addis here on the show.
All the time.
Thank you
All the
very
time.
much. Great to be here. Love hanging out with you guys.
And
talking politics.
you brought pizza.
I did.
You brought us a gift.
Can I say where I got it, or is it like a plug?
No,
Do
no.
it.
All right, I got it from Rocco's down in Belltown on 2nd Avenue. So it's a great pizza joint if you're down there in Belltown.
That's good pizza, man.
It reminds me of, it's very traditionally New York
Yes.
style.
Well, and like most things, it goes really good with beer.
Yeah, it does. It gives me heartburn, but that's cool because beer
Well,
and
it's
pizza
beer,
do that.
right? Yeah, come
Most
on.
things do, though.
Yeah, I just have, this bad. Anyway, so it's Johnny Rocket. You can catch us at nwczradio.com. Fridays, 4 to 6 p.m. We kind of have a new slot, so if you haven't tuned in for a while, please note the change. We're now Fridays, 4 to 6 p.m. Liberty Movement Radio, Fridays, 6 to 8 Eastern Time. And truth be told, Saturdays, 5 to 7. Mr. Addis, Mr. Paul Addis, St. Addis, 36th District, Position 2. You can find you at electpauladdis.com.
Yes.
So why don't we talk about what's going on? You've been campaigning. You're on the campaign trail. so to
Yes,
speak.
we got about a month and a half left to go before the general election. It's a big day in any campaign's timeline is the election day.
Right on.
So with a month and a half left, we're really focusing on the doorbelling, getting out there, handing our material out in the neighborhoods in the 36th district. Also, we have paid now. We paid for a list of phone numbers. So if we call you and annoy you, we paid for that privilege. So
Nice.
we're going to
That's a
be doing
privilege.
that.
Nice.
So for myself, we went through the primary, which was interesting because the primary in August 5th was the first time that we actually got numbers, where you could see like how you did and actual what people thought.
What do those look like?
Well, I will say that my district is heavily Democrat, very left-leaning.
Belltown, Seattle? I don't think so.
So I got 14%. My Democrat incumbent opponent got 86%.
Oh.
So not great overall. However, for
What
a
was
third
the voter
party,
turnout, though?
The voter turnout in the 36th district was actually a little higher than the rest of the state. I think it was around 25 to 28%.
Which is still horrible.
very low.
Horrible. Yeah. And in 36, I think it was like 35%, something like that. So the 36 turned out better than the state overall. Again, I don't know that they're used to having a lot of challengers down there. As a third party candidate, first time running for office in that district, I was happy with the results. I was actually talking with another friend of ours, Robin Kerner, about 2 weeks before the primary, and we were talking about what we expect, what were my goals. And I told him I thought I could get at least 13% because I think that's kind of the non-Democratic Republican percentage
Sure.
down there. And they would probably just vote against the Democrat.
Right.
And I thought, so if I get I'm looking for between like 13 and 15%, and I ended up with 14. So that was kind of what I was expecting in that district. The key to it, as far as my campaign is more of an education campaign at this point, is trying to get the libertarian philosophy on all these issues out to the public. So going to newspapers and doing endorsement interviews, going to events and being able to talk is a big thing for me. So we did recently go to the Seattle Times. My opponent and myself got to sit in front of their editorial board and talk with them on the issues. So they were very professional, and it was a good time. And,
Nice.
So when you win, are you going to come over here to the Launchpad and buy us a bunch of booze? So
if I win, I can make all kind of claims about if I win. If I win in November, it would be I would be on every TV
No,
station
you're
in the
gonna
world.
win.
But
When he wins, we're going to him. He doesn't need to come to us.
Yeah,
going to
it's a really tough district,
that's
that's for
true.
sure. But I like the opportunities. We got some events coming up in October on the 8th and 9th. The 8th in Belltown, the 9th in Magnolia, where we're going to have, the community councils in those neighborhoods are
Nice.
going to have a panel of all the candidates, and they'll have a mediator asking questions, and the public can come and ask questions. So we're looking forward to that. And you can see that information on my website as well.
And I like pauladdis.com.
Yes,
and also
sir.
October 31st is a very important event, the Rockaween in Tacoma.
Yes.
Whoa. That's
Yes.
kind of an obscure plug right there, but I love it.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. I was thinking of the calendar dates. October 31st at the Stonegate in Tacoma. Paul, you going to be there?
Kind of late for me, but I will try and make it. But I cannot make any promises. That's going to go well past my bedtime.
It's and a drive back from Tacoma past his
Yeah.
bedtime.
But it's Tacoma. It's not that
But I
far.
love you guys. I've been
It's
to your
only-
shows a couple of times and love it. You guys put on a great show, and I would encourage everybody out there to go see the Hot Rod and Romeos at Rockaween.
That's right. You can come out to the Central on the 25th of October.
We're playing
The,
at
the Central. All right.
25th.
I need to keep up with your
That's-
routine.
we just found out now today, like
Sweet.
literally like 20 minutes ago. Actually,
Sweet.
we got the show.
That's
over
where
there.
I work too. So
That's
I'll be
where he
next to
works.
him.
He'll be there
And
too.
I just want to say that after Rockaween is done, you've got 4 whole days to recover before you got to go vote.
That's right.
Especially if you're in your 36th district.
And
yeah.
knowing Johnny after Halloween, he's going to have to recover for at least one of those days.
One, just one,
At least.
I need a one.
We're
That's
just
it.
thankful it's on a Friday.
It's a Friday.
Oh, thank the Lord.
Yes.
So Sunday I'll start coming normal again.
Right.
So anyways, oh man, you just went, okay, if there's anything that goes on in this world, if there's any sort of conflict going on anywhere in America,
Yes, I was going to say
particularly in
the United
America, I should have just said America. There's one man who is there in a heartbeat on the scene. No shit.
Is it a reporter?
No, he's not.
Is it Superman?
No.
Batman?
No.
Who is it?
Well, we call him the Saint, the new superhero in town.
That's
Mr. Paul Addis is always there whenever there is any sort of conflict. Mr. Addis is always there.
America.
America.
He went to the Ferguson
Yes.
riots.
I'm
He was there.
dying to hear about
Ferguson,
this.
I'm
Missouri.
really interested to hear about this
Me
because
too.
this was it was on the news. It's been it's kind of settled down quite a bit in the last month or so.
Yeah, I think
But-
they had a little flare up today from what I saw, but it was an odd thing that I think the candles at the memorial set the memorial on fire, and some people were saying the cops burned it, so they got mad and looted again.
No, come on.
like,
man.
conspiracy.
So yeah, it's crazy, but there are people that are always looking to make troubles.
First of all, I'll give you my take on it. Yes, Michael Brown, there he was killed by a police officer through some sort of confrontation of some sort. And then there were riots. That's as much as I knew, there was a lot of militarized police forces. Well, first of all, people shouldn't riot.
That's usually when I tune out on the
I
news.
tune out.
Oh, you got a bunch of riots.
It's like another Rodney King story. Okay, just an excuse to steal from
Yeah, right.
innocent people. And those are the people who take advantage of those situations.
Well, there were people who felt as though an injustice was done and their message was completely just overshadowed by the rioters.
Yeah.
Warped, construed,
So in this
twisted.
case, literally, the rioters are taking away from a legit issue.
Correct.
Exactly. It's
ridiculous,
same thing.
man.
Same thing with
Pisses
the
me
Rodney. It pisses me off too. But Paul, you went there firsthand. You were on the ground. You were hanging out with the guys at InfoWars. You were hanging out with all the. You were hanging out with all the reporters and the actual people who were peacefully protesting.
So at what point in the protests / riots did you go down there?
Okay, good question. I'll do a little timeline there because the killing of Michael Brown and the first rioting, looting, let's say, that took place was shortly after. That was on a Saturday, and honestly, I don't remember the date right off the top of my head, but it was on a Saturday. That was when he was killed, and very shortly after that moment, some looting started. Now, I will say, as a little background, I mean, this is a predominantly black neighborhood. Police there and a lot of the politicians and the rulers, so to speak, there are not. They're Caucasian, most of them, and there has been a history of some conflict and even African American citizens being dragged away falsely accused of doing something and found out they got the wrong guy, and then
So-
that guy got beat up in the jail because he wanted a cot or something, and so it's just, there are stories and histories of some conflict here in this neighborhood. So-
Legit brutality.
legit stuff. And so there is a healthy distrust of the police, I think, there in that neighborhood. When this happened with the young boy, Michael Brown, it wasn't like a isolated incident where there was no history. There's been some distrust there, and that was kind of match that set off the powder keg in that sense. I think the people in the neighborhood, the ones that really wanted to know the truth, wanted a little more communication from the law enforcement community, which it took a while to get. So when that happened, and of course there are people that will take advantage, like you said, immediately somebody's going to go loot a store, and so they did. So that was on Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the people are getting restless. They're wanting to hear, how did this happen? They want justice, but they want to hear some answers. And they
Yeah,
weren't
the
really
police
getting
didn't come out and make a statement.
Right. They didn't really say much of anything about what happened. And I want to interject a little piece of information. explanation here at this point, because I believe one day just about every police department in the country will require their police officers to wear the little cameras that you wear like on your shoulder. Ferguson Police Department has many of these things, but they do not wear them. I don't know why. I don't know if they just thought they hadn't got around to it yet, but for whatever reason, I think had that officer been wearing one of those cameras that they have at the Ferguson Police Department, there would have been a whole lot less questions and more answers, because there wouldn't have been as much about, well, this witness said that and this witness said that. So you would have had some video of what happened.
Did nobody get any cell phone video, anything?
Not immediately. There was some right after it, and showed him laying in the street, and the police kind of walking over him and looking at him. And again, they let him lay out there for like 3 hours. The father tried to come to the body, and the police pushed him away. And
crazy, man.
So I mean, it was. I don't think it was handled all that well, regardless of what happened there. So anyway, so we go up to like through Tuesday. Now we get to Wednesday, and the people are out there protesting. So I believe it was Wednesday of that week where they started bringing in the county law enforcement with their what I call their military grade equipment. So they had mine resistant armored personnel carriers. They had snipers on the turrets on top of those. They had the CS gas. They started coming out in big force. And you have to understand this area here, this street, it's only about a quarter of a mile strip here between where like the QT is and down where the dollar store is. About a quarter of a mile. There's your usual, check cashing places, liquor stores, some fast food, the dollar store, stuff like that is on this street. I think in retrospect as well, at this point, if the police had just protected the stores instead of coming down the street with their tanks, it could have helped a lot as well. But as it were, on Wednesday evening, there was a lot of tear gas and CS gas. And because it wasn't tear gas, people were showing the canisters on, in the news and all, and it was CS gas, the kind that's banned in the Geneva Convention. We can't use that in Afghanistan.
Right, we
but
can't
they were
even
using
use that against our enemies in modern war.
But we can at home.
But we can against our own people.
Yes.
And here's the question I had really quick is they were actually, innocent protesters, we have to wrap up this segment really quick, but I want everyone to think about this who's listening here on your drive or at home, is that they were launching and throwing the CS gas at women and children and babies and strollers.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell us about that really quick.
Yeah, and so this is what I was getting like on Thursday, the next day, when all this reporting was coming out, that and there were video and photographs and eyewitnesses of them shooting. Like the Al Jazeera news media was there, set up on the side of the street with their lights and their cameras, and they were shot with rubber bullets and chased away with the CS gas. And then the police came over and tore down their equipment on the side of the road. And other news reporters were there as well, having the same experience. So it wasn't all bad enough that it was women and children and peaceful protesters, but it was also the news media, which is a huge violation of our constitution.
Yeah, of anybody who might be capturing the bullshit that they're doing right now.
Right. Well, and then you were also saying something about rubber bullets being used, and actually you had pictures with people with red dots from the sniper rifles on them.
Yes, there are yeah.
Why? Why are they targeting civilians? There's been a new trend lately, the Bundy Ranch. Now you have the Ferguson. Now, hey, I don't agree with I don't agree that people should just go out and riot but when things do get out of control, know your enemy. You have to understand that these are people with a genuine concern. They should have handled it better. They should have had a press conference. They should have had a press release to the public, what exactly happened. I mean, hell, you didn't know what happened to the cop with Michael Brown until like 2 weeks later that he even was attacked, supposedly.
Right.
So why aren't they reporting this? What's going on? What's the secret agenda? What are they hiding? I don't know. I'm not trying to get into conspiracy theories here, but something doesn't smell right. I don't know. I just don't understand why this is happening. Anyways, this is Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction, the Northwest only libertarian rock and roll show. We're here with our special guest, Mr. Paul Addis, running 36th District position.
The Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Curt Nelson.
Yes, sir.
My voice of reason, Miss Heather Nixon.
Hi.
And my very special guest, Mr. Paul Addis, running 36th District Position 2.
Yes.
You can find them at electpauladdis.com. This is the only libertarian rock and roll radio show, Northwest Convergence Zone Radio, or NWCZ. Fridays 4 to 6, Liberty Movement Radio, Fridays 6 to 8 Eastern, and truthbetoldmedia.com, Saturdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. And this is the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. Thank you very much for listening to us. We were talking about Freguson. Mr. Addis, St. Addis, as we like to call him here.
Indeed.
Actually traveled all the way to Freguson because he's just that kind of guy.
Love that about Paul.
Went out there, saw a lot of things that kind of shocked him. We were talking about how the use of CS gas, how the police department and the local government there in Freguson were not talking to the people. There was like a communication breakdown. There was the riots, obviously, that were occurring within a quarter-mile strip in part of Freguson. What else happened when you were there, man? Let's hear some more about what's going on.
Yeah, so we were talking about the kind of the chronological events of what happened that week, starting on that Saturday. So by Wednesday night is when the tanks rolled out, so to speak. You saw what I refer to as the militarization of law enforcement here in America. So on Thursday, I'm at work, and this kind of happened similar to what happened with the Bundy Ranch incident, because again, it was on I think that was a Friday, but in this case, it was a Thursday. And at lunch, I'm looking at some of the news and what had taken place the day before, and some of the pictures. One picture in particular was a picture of a guy in broad daylight. This wasn't at night or anything. This was in the daytime. He was walking down the sidewalk in Freguson, and there were he had nothing on him. I think he had like a little kind of a man purse kind of thing on him.
It must have been a white guy.
Yeah,
Like a fanny pack?
No.
Like a fanny pack?
Yeah, it was kind of a bag over his shoulder kind of thing. And so anyway, he's got his hands up, he's got his hands raised, and there are about 15 to 20 SWAT members with riot gear on, pointing assault rifles at him, like within probably 15 feet in front of him on the sidewalk. I mean, you can look up, when you look at the pictures of Freguson, you'll probably see this if you go and look at the images in Google or something. But so this guy's just standing on the sidewalk, and there's about 20, riot gear cops pointing their weapons right at him. And I saw that, and I knew what had been taking place the night before. But when I saw that, it just really stirred something in me, and was like, you know what? If they're going to do that to the American citizens, if it's gotten to that where they got unarmed citizens pointing these rifles at them and 15 feet away, then they've only got so many bullets. So the only thing we have, again, it's kind of like the Bundy thing kind of happened, where I was like, you know what? The only defense we really have at this point is numbers. Sure. If you get enough people to stand up against what you see as something that's taking away some liberties, our freedoms, if you have enough people to stand up, then a few things may happen. Number one, the news media is going to start covering, and they had already been down there starting to cover it. Also, when a lot of people come out, numbers come out, politicians, get on board because they see those as votes out there. So you get enough people making a stink, the politicians take notice. And then if you get enough people to stand up, hopefully they'll back down. The law enforcement will back down from their overzealous aggressiveness down there.
Sure.
So that was why I went, to kind of stand up with the rest of the people that were there protesting, to say this, not necessarily for what happened, because we didn't at that point know exactly what had happened between the police and the kid. So it was more about what I saw as the overreaction of the law enforcement with this military equipment. So I decided to go on down. The next day I flew down on that Friday, was there for a couple of days or 3 days down there in Freguson, marched with some of the folks, we had a march, and just basically was kind of getting the feel for what was going on, and took a video. And on my website, there is a video. If you go to the activity page on my website, you'll see at that time, I think that was around like the 15th. So anyway, you can check it out. I've got like a 5-minute video of my experience down there and what I saw, interviews with the people, and just listening to them, and they were concerned about
how they were being treated.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, riots are one thing, but if people are peacefully protesting, but the only problem is, and here's the thing, the riots started, obviously, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was there peaceful protests before the riots occurred?
Well, there was looting almost immediately after the killing.
Okay.
The peaceful protest didn't start, for another day or two, when people weren't getting the answers they wanted and had a lot of questions. In fact, when I was down there on Saturday, which was a week after the shooting, there was a tent set up down there near the memorial to where he got shot, that they were having a voter registration drive. And they were telling people, look, if you want things to change, you need to go through our process, our democratic process of registering to vote, voting, for people that you think represent your views. If you don't like what you're
seeing or experiencing,
what the people that are in control, if you don't like the way they're handling things, vote in somebody you do. And that's a good response to it. So it wasn't, and the word riot versus looting, I mean, there was probably more looting than there was rioting. Honestly, I think the rioting occurred more from the police side of it, as far as what they were with their riot gear, than there was a lot of looting and like
theft and stealing.
Yeah, breaking into the stores there. And again, you mentioned earlier, you were kind of talking about, why did the police not give out information for so long, or this or that. But one of the questions I had too was, why did the police not protect those stores? Because after the first day, they knew there was looting, and a lot of looting happened during the week, and even a week later. they could have easily posted like 5, police at each store with that riot gear and their weapons and their tear gas or whatever they wanted to have and protected the stores, but they didn't. In fact, shop owners had to come out there with guns to protect their own store. And there was a black motorcycle gang that was there that came in to march and to be part of it. And they were out there protecting the stores as well. So it was kind of weird that there were so many police. I mean, about another quarter of a mile up the road from this area, there's a big Target, a brand new Target shopping center, and very nice. So you go into the bridge. On the other side of the bridge is a really nice looking area versus what you see down there where all the looting was taking place. And that Target shopping center, half it was a big parking lot. Half of it was full of cop cars, a few MRAPs, fire trucks, some news trucks. It looked like a staging area, for a small battle or something. It was just amazing what was there. Wow. So they had a lot of resources.
Sure Target was protected.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah. In fact, you mentioned earlier that I was down there with some of the reporters, like from the Alex Jones show. I actually went into the Target to get an umbrella because it started raining, and they were all sold out of ponchos, so I had to get an umbrella. But actually ran into, and when I was getting my umbrella, I ran into a couple of those reporters who I had actually heard the day before, like reporting about getting shot. They had gotten shot with rubber bullets as well, and were with the Al Jazeera folks when they were getting shot and tear gas. So it was interesting. I just ran into those guys and said hey to them because I'd heard them reporting the day before. But yeah, they had plenty of police that could have protected the stores, but they didn't. So my question was, why did they stand down on the stores and wait until the evening to come out with their riot gear and focus on the people in the street and on the sidewalks that were not, they didn't have weapons, they weren't rioting or looting, they were just marching peacefully down the street saying we would like answers. And I was among them for a couple of days. I marched with them a few times, and I can tell you it was very peaceful. There was this chant they were doing about hands up, don't shoot, because some of the early eyewitnesses had said that whether he did or he didn't, that was kind of what they picked up on, was that Michael Brown had his hands up and said don't shoot. So that was like a chant they were chanting. They would chant that at times, saying things like no justice, no peace kind of thing. But the actual people that were chanting these things were very peaceful.
Sure.
Weren't causing any trouble.
I mean, freedom of speech, it's important.
Yeah.
We got to keep it by all means, even if you don't agree with it. People should have the right to say what they want. They may be wrong because I'm always right. And this is a Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And I'm right on my show.
Johnny Rocket is always right.
I'm only on my show, though.
Now, I will say this. I mentioned that when you get people in numbers, the media comes out and the politicians take notice. That week that I was there was a Democrat in Georgia who came out with legislation at the federal level to demilitarize the police. There's this program that the Pentagon has to give surplus military gear. Just this week, I read an article where there's a school district down in New Mexico or Arizona somewhere. They've got like grenade launchers and these MRAPs, the minor resistant armored personnel carriers. And crazy as it may sound, I mean, part of the bill that was in Congress that did this mentions things like you can get this military equipment, but if you want like nuclear or biological or missiles for your local police department, that would be handled on a case-by-case basis. Now, there was years back, some senators all tried to get that taken out, like kind of water down this program.
Right.
But it was heavily voted not to touch the program, which again includes stuff like, it's on a case-by-case basis, you could request nuclear or biological or missiles or things like that.
Where does this CS gas fall into that category as far as biological or
well, it's a deterrent.
It's
chemical warfare.
It's definitely a deterrent. Yeah, it's a deterrent. It's not, it's chemical. So it's definitely a chemical.
It's not going to kill you, let's say. I mean, it's not that type of.
But it's clearly bad enough to where we're not allowed to use it in Afghanistan. Is that what you said?
Yeah. I mean, it's like you could use pepper spray or something. I mean, they use that on muggers and stuff. You could use it. You can buy that at the stores here. But so there's a different level of what it, the chemicals. So
we had to be exposed to CS gas in the military as a training, basic
like
training
camp or whatever.
Right. We'd have to go to a gas chamber to
that.
test the integrity of our equipment. We're fine. We're walking around in a room
crazy
with like concentrated CS gas.
Yeah.
You have to take your mask off.
What is it? And pardon my ignorance, but what is it? What is?
It's basically
it's so horrible about this, more so than pepper spray.
It's similar effects, except for you have trouble breathing, your skin burns, your eyes water up.
It must have some kind of more lasting effect then.
Oh, yeah. You walk out of the tear gas chamber, and it takes you about 2 or 3 minutes to get the effects off of it.
And you're throwing up probably.
Okay.
Yeah, you're recovering.
So it's a lot more intense than, say, bear spray or something like that, or the stuff that the cops use.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's like more than pepper spray.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more of a deterrent.
And the idea is that, this is excess military equipment that's being being given to local law enforcement.
And why is that happening? Who knows?
Yeah.
Why do they have tanks in Ferguson?
Well, I mean, and not to go too far into it, but, disarm the public and heavily arm the government.
Right. Yeah. This is exact. But it was funny.
It's happened over time.
Paul and I were talking about this outside. It's like within the last month or two. It's like fast, especially the things that are going on. So, Paul, I know you're a worldly man. Talk to us about what do you feel about what's going on right now with Syria and the strikes?
Well, I think that, this, first of all, let's remember that, a few years back, this area where people are getting their heads cut off, and I'm not just talking about the reporters, I'm speaking more of the people that live there that are maybe of a different religion than the people that are doing the cutting off of the heads.
Right.
They were living there before, different religions in that area, without people getting their heads cut off.
Right.
So it's not like, all these people moved in to the neighborhood and people got upset and they started chopping their heads off.
Sure.
I mean, so this area, this is similar to what was going on in Libya or in Syria before we kind of jumped in there and started intervening in the situation. Take Libya, for example. Before our peaceful bombing of Libya.
Peaceful. I love our peaceful bombings.
Yeah.
Such a great idea.
The humanitarian bombings of Libya and to get rid of Gaddafi. I mean, the United Nations, living index, so you're talking about education, the schools, the roads, the sanitation, the services, the public services. Libya was top in the whole continent of Africa. They were like the jewel of Africa. So as much as Gaddafi himself was not a nice guy, and there's always going to be some tribal conflicts in any place over there because the borders we have today are kind of arbitrarily drawn up a long time ago by the Europeans. So yes, you're always going to have some tribal conflicts, but Libya took care of its people. It had its own state bank. It had its own state oil company. It was using its resources to better the lives of its people until we came in there and intervened with that. And we took out Gaddafi, and now you've got a real mess over there, and they're way down. We've bombed that place. And now that the guys that are in charge, some of the same guys that are using our equipment to, kill people over there in Syria and Iraq and all. So you see as a pattern of a place that wasn't as bad off before as it is today because of our intervention. I think you're seeing,
Iraq was bad. Saddam Hussein was bad.
He was our guy.
He was our friend at one point.
Exactly. I mean, you go back to Iran, in the 50s, you took out Mossadegh, the CIA took out Mossadegh, put in the Shah, that he was our puppet. Mossadegh was a democratically elected leader, and we took him out. I mean, we talk about we want to have freedom. So I think when you look at what's going on today, like with ISIL and ISIS and all that, which are branches of Al-Qaeda, what you see as a result of our foreign policy. And it's a mess. It's a mess, but
totally
we can't say that it happened in a vacuum.
But the thing is, though, I've also been hearing, and what I kind of wanted to touch base on regarding your opinion on this, was how President Obama handled the situation regarding not getting congressional approval for any bombing or strikes like that. And I hear other people say, well, it's Article 2. He can do it. He has all the rights to do it. He's commander in chief. He can do anything he wants. We've had 200 wars in this country and only 5 have had congressional approval. But a lot of libertarians and Republicans are going, whoa, wait a minute, dude.
You certainly you got anybody that's against Obama in general or against his party in general is going to come against anything he does. It does seem to be his MO that he doesn't even look for resolutions from Congress. Like at least W. Bush, when he did his thing, at least he got some kind of resolution and talked to Congress a little bit. But yeah, I think my understanding of his power is that if the United States is there's a direct threat to us, he can do what he wants as far as declaring war. And then he's got a certain amount of time, it was 30 or 60 or 90 days or something, where he then needs to go and to continue that effort needs to go to Congress. So he could do that under his powers if we're directly
Congress
threatened.
has the purse. Congress has the purse. So if they, he can declare war all day or do whatever he wants to do. But if Congress goes, hey, go to war, buddy. Here's
and go.
Have $5. Have fun with that. See how many people you'll get behind you there. I mean, they could take it away from them. So I don't know. I just think there should be a little bit more of a checks and balances.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think if Congress wanted to, put their foot down and kind of take back some of their power and authority that I think has been taken from them, I think they could do that. It just tells me if they don't, then there's just no will there among our representatives to do that. And that's as much a problem with Congress as it is with the president. It takes 2 to tango in that sense.
Right on. And so talk to us about the Seattle PI.
The Seattle Times interview you're talking about?
I'm sorry, Seattle Times.
Yeah. So one of my earlier programs I was here, we talked about that I went to the Stranger newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
Not to rehash the old news, but But I did a similar endorsement interview at the Seattle Times where myself and my opponent sat in front of their editorial board and answered questions. It was interesting. It was much more professional, I will say, than what happened at The Stranger. So they asked good questions, and I think they were very fair to both of us.
Nobody said you weren't going to win, so
nobody said I wasn't going to win. Nobody said that we each wanted to kill a certain segment of society, and so
nice.
And
that's always good news.
They didn't yell at us. They didn't raise their voices. So.
That's great. When you go to he goes to The Stranger, the so-called loving, liberal place of tranquility, and he gets yelled at.
Right.
Then he goes to this place that's all stern and business suits, and they're all nice.
And they're all nice people.
Yeah, they were nice, and so it was interesting. Some of the things that I remember from the endorsement interview, I will say that I certainly have a different take on things than my opponent.
Who's your opponent again?
Gail Tarleton. She's a Democrat incumbent, and by the way, a nice lady. She actually gave me a ride home after the Seattle Times interview.
Nice.
I mean, we were.
Be nice, Johnny.
I'm going to be nice because she gave St. Addis a ride.
Would you liken her to a Harry Potter character?
A Harry Potter character? I don't. I can't think of any Harry Potter character.
Tim Turner, we love you, man.
Shut up. So she's nice, but we just have different philosophies. So when we're in there talking, we're talking about things like, I'll just say right off the bat that some of the issues they probably did not agree with me on would be like Initiative 594, the gun, what do they call, like the closing the loophole in the gun,
right.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's 18 pages long. It does a whole lot more than just close the loop.
It's a lot more than what they're advertising.
Yeah, and so it's not that I have a problem with people getting some kind of background check if you've got a felony or something or you're crazy.
Sure.
But that thing doesn't do just what they say. It does a little more. For instance, I can give you an example.
Like if your wife takes your gun and shoots somebody, then she could be held accountable for not having the gun registered to her for using it. Yeah, and shit like that.
Something that has happened to us where when we lived up in Bothell before we moved downtown and bought the condo down there, we were out in Bothell, and Kathy, my wife, would go on the trails and things and walk around out there, and so she wanted to have like a handgun for herself and one of those little purses that you could kind of hide it in or something. Sure. And so anyway, we were thinking of getting one for her. So we have the friends that have this one family has a lot of different weapons, handguns and stuff. So they were going to allow us to go to this range and try them to see what she liked. And I think she really liked the Ruger LCR revolver. Mm-hmm. She liked that, and if she ever gets one, that's what she'll get. But anyway, that act of them loaning us their guns to try out at a gun range, she would, because they didn't do it. If this initiative went through,
right,
that would be illegal.
That would be illegal because they didn't do that transfer through a registered dealer or something. So just that simple act would turn my wife into a felon. And so again, it goes a little further than what they're saying. Yes. So I don't support
ridiculous.
that.
That's stupid.
Here's another, for instance. We've got a gun to protect the premises
Tommy
here.
Sound. But what if you pick it up?
It's registered to Tommy.
Right.
But if you pick it up and you're the one.
So if I'm being assaulted or somebody is coming in and I protect our property or myself with that gun registered to Tommy, I'd be a felon.
Yeah. Or if you're getting beat up in the corner in the fetal position, at least you would have to yell out, it's a good thing for you that we don't have a registered dealer here and the proper paperwork, because I would get it transferred and then use it against you.
Well,
but I can't.
But a lot of these laws, or the so-called laws, because to me they're not laws, these are statutes again. Oh no, they're really regulations for the people and how to live. And the problem with
to better our lives, Johnny.
But it isn't. It's just to take more. It's making your shit more and more difficult to get through your general life. I mean, there's a lot of common sense.
Well, according to my opponent, it makes the people in the community they're able to be free from fear. That's what she said.
But see, why? But the only thing it's punishing is people who are law abiding. Right. Again, it goes back to that same point.
Right.
They need to understand, and this is what I'm sorry, but the liberals don't get. It's not the law abiding citizens who are causing the crime.
Right.
It's criminals, and criminals don't register their guns.
I would like to hear her explain how the public would be free from fear by passing that law. I would love to hear why.
I asked her that, and she didn't answer. When we were at the Stranger, she mentioned
there's
that.
no logical point of explanation.
No, it's not an initiative to do away with fear. So.
No, that would be nice. Let's just do away with fear. If fear is illegal, then you can't be in fear.
Well, I guess murder is illegal, so nobody's going to get murdered.
Exactly.
So we're free from being afraid of.
It's a much safer society because murder is illegal.
Right. Yeah. You can't do murder anymore.
So Seattle Times, it was a good. It
was.
Response.
So that was something that I think that they probably didn't agree with me on. But there were a lot of things, like for instance, we talked about education, and there's an initiative out there that is going. They're trying to force the class size to be reduced, to have fewer kids per teacher. Well, one of our problems here in Washington is that we're underfunded. The Constitution, the basic education is underfunded K through 12 by, according to the Supreme Court, $3 to $4 billion and we've got until like 2018 to come up with a plan to fix that. If you, on top of that, in the current system, if you were to say, okay, now you have to have smaller class sizes with the current system, that's going to add like another $2 to $3 billion that you're going to need on top of the $3 to $4 billion you're already short.
Wow.
So I mentioned that when they mentioned that initiative, I told them the board, I said, I don't support that because I think we would have to come up with more. I'm not sure where we could get that right now. We're having trouble even agreeing on how to get the $3 to $4 billion that we need. They understood that, the editorial board of the Seattle Times. My opponent made a comment, something along the lines, she didn't like it when people say, well, how are you going to fund that? You know, she didn't like when people say that because she thinks that it's good just to have these goals and to say, let's shoot for it and let's not worry so much about how we're going to fund it. So I don't want these naysayers saying,
I want to buy that Lamborghini. Yeah. It's only $800 a month.
So, I'm not worried. I'm guessing that maybe the reason that she's okay with that philosophy is that her and many of the people in Olympia today, their default answer for every problem is another tax or another fee. Yep. Like for the education thing, her idea is to have an education fee, she calls it, which will be added to your property tax. That's her solution for that. Wow. As the governor wants to add 20 cents a gallon to the gas to save the planet and do some transportation projects. So again, every time there's a problem, there's another tax or another fee.
But if we call it a fee, then it's not a tax.
It's a fee, though. But this is what they do, though. This is what I've noticed that's going on in Seattle. They have billions and billions of dollars to spend every year. What they'll do is they'll create some program that doesn't mean shit. Like right now, they're doing something about abusive women's program, and Mayor Murray's putting all this money, all these billions of dollars to creating more bureaucrats. We need more. It's our roads, right? Seattle, let's clear up the traffic problem we have. It's a problem. But what they'll do is wait for the things that we actually need till the end. Oh, we need more road money. And then all of a sudden, then they'll ask for more money.
And they'll scare you. They'll say, you got to do it because if you don't give us the money, this is going to happen or that's kind of the sky's going to fall. And that politics of fear, I think like it can work for a little while, but after a while, people get tired of it.
People get tired of it.
It's like the threat levels that we have, the orange and red.
Right. And what they'll do is they'll put the stuff that we don't need in front. They'll use all the money on the projects and these ideas that they want to use and implement. And at the end, when we actually need roads and police and firefighters and things along those lines, then they'll start begging for money for new initiatives to raise money and raise more taxes, and so they can get more money to actually spend on their little programs. Yeah. Anyways, so this is Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. We'll be right back. We have St. Paul Addis running District 36, Position 2, electpauladdis.com.
The Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching crazy ideas in your direction. The Northwest's only rock and roll libertarian radio show. We're at nwczradio.com. Fridays from 4 to 6 p.m. libertymovementradio.com. Fridays 6 to 8 Eastern Time. And Truth Be Told Media, Saturdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Curt Nelson.
What up?
My voice of reason, the beautiful Miss Heather Nixon.
Hello.
And our special guest, Mr. Paul Addison. Now.
Hello.
It's time for Rocket Fire.
All right. So how Rocket Fire works, Paul, is basically I'm going to ask you 10 questions. Of these 10 questions, I think we agreed to 30 seconds per question.
We did.
All right.
30. We started with 60, but I think that was too much.
I think it was
we
too
narrowed
much.
it down to 30.
To 30 seconds.
Simple enough concept.
Yeah.
It's work in progress.
It's a work, but I think 30 is going to be good. So you got the 30-minute timer on
yes,
that?
sir. I got it. 30 seconds.
30 seconds. 30 minutes. All right. All right. Rocket Fire. Question 1. The Obama latte salute. What do you feel about that?
A little disrespectful. I don't know that he was thinking of it as being disrespectful, but doesn't look good. Let's say that.
All right. Student loan debt.
I think that it's a trap for kids getting into school, getting that kind of debt. I don't think that they should get a lot of debt going to college because they're going to regret it later.
The strikes on Islamic State, Syria.
I think we shouldn't get involved again in a war over there. I think the outcome's going to be probably just as bad as it was last time.
The healthcare.gov security lapses.
It was probably should have been expected.
President Obama's message to Muslims in his UN speech about rejecting Al-Qaeda and ISIL.
I don't think they're listening to him.
God God, he's got great short answers.
Good answers. NASA, waste of money, good idea.
I think Elon Musk, the guy from PayPal and Tesla cars, did a much better job with his SpaceX. And I believe that NASA's coming to him now to rent rockets. So, yeah, if Elon Musk, this guy, can do it better than them, they probably weren't doing it right.
So you're kind of pretty much about privatizing the space program.
I think it's going to work out better.
What about Blackwater, private mercenary groups, stuff like that? Good idea, bad idea?
I think that's a bad idea. For certain jobs, they'd be great. Maybe for a home security system, but not necessarily to do enforcing our policies for the country.
Climate change.
Climate.
Is it a good idea? Is it happening? What's your opinion on it?
Whoever's making it change, I think that was a bad idea. If we could just keep it the same all the time, it'd be great. However, I do believe the climate is changing. I don't think necessarily that man has as much influence as some would give us credit for.
This is what we were talking about earlier while I was showing Curt. Police with personal cameras.
Oh, yes, definitely. I'm for cameras on the police. I think it should happen. I think it will happen that all police will one day have cameras on them.
And what should we be doing about the Ebola virus?
Take your vitamin C. And I do think it's a bad idea for us to send our military to Africa in the midst of that. I think that's not a good idea.
Very cool.
Bam.
Bam!
He's good.
That was the Rocket Fire segment, third segment. Woo. We're going to do that from now on. We
He was
decided.
like 6 seconds on average.
Well, he was like, no. How long does it take this in?
That's pretty much dumb.
Bad idea.
And nope.
I'll go for quality more than quantity.
Yeah, that's great.
Actually, I thought it was fine. Maybe we shouldn't have a time segment. What if we just hit them with questions?
No, because we're going to get that one talky guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true. I don't know. Maybe we could have made it a minute.
Yeah, but no. We go 30 seconds and then we can add that.
I mean, if you got a guest that just can't say anything, you're just not thinking fast, then maybe you just go to something else.
So some crazy stuff going on in the news. New York Police Department apparently tackled a woman. She tried to help her son resist arrest because he had a knife. He was carrying a concealed knife on his person. A cop saw it or something, and she got in between her son and the man and this cop, and he started wrestling with her on the ground. And then another woman jumped in to help her, but then she hurt her arm, and she said, "I'm pregnant. Why are you?" And she was pregnant. So this New York Police Department cop,
Which woman was pregnant? The initial woman on the ground or the helper?
The initial woman on the ground, I believe. Yes. Yes, she was Sandy as Mezquita. She was pretty much she was trying to help her son resist arrest. Mom, my son is innocent, I swear.
You said there was a knife involved?
Her son had a knife. He had it in his pocket.
Oh, okay.
Because you know how New York doesn't have anyone, you can't have a gun, pocket knife, any
Big
kind
gulp.
of weapon.
That's a straight blade knife in Seattle either.
Is it over 3 inches?
Nothing.
Or straight blade?
This right here is illegal in Seattle.
That is a little knife, in case you can't see that on the radio. It's a nice looking knife.
It's a cute little $9, that's a what?
What is it, about a 3-inch blade?
Yeah, 2.5. This is illegal in Seattle.
It looks like a box opener to me.
That's what I use it for.
Well,
and making cables and soldering and
it looks very handy.
It's very handy.
Yeah,
I was raised, my dad always had a Gerber on it.
But in the hands of Steven Seagal, it could be deadly.
But anyway, so I guess the woman was blatantly pregnant.
Oh, okay.
And he started wrestling.
She was
with her.
showing.
Obviously pregnant.
And he tackled her down, apparently, on the ground.
And she said it.
The other woman said it too.
Oh, okay.
No, the New York cops, man, they're hardcore.
Was she attacking the police officer?
It was not said.
She just got in
She got
between
in
him.
between her son and the police officer.
But she did not put her hands on the
Did
police
not say.
officer. It didn't say.
Did not say. But she was pregnant. Are you pregnant? No. It was pretty obvious.
It wasn't her old man asking or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, that's kind of crazy. That kind of goes along with what Paul was talking about earlier. It's like
warrior mentality.
Yeah. And another thing that's going on too is I saw this video on YouTube, and it was regarding a police officer pulling over this guy in Illinois, and they have a random checkpoints that they're doing now.
Right.
Oh, we're just doing a random checkpoint. Well, I know my constitutional rights. I'm not doing anything wrong. I haven't been drinking. I have my insurance, but why do you need to see my papers? He was doing.
Trust your papers.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, the cop was just being a complete dick, and I saw this on YouTube. The guy was just out of control. He just started.
Somebody told me they do that in Tacoma. Is that not true? Do they do random roadblock stops?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was wasn't that someone?
No.
That was the guy.
Michael's
my
friend.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I've never seen it in
I
Tacoma.
haven't either. I wondered about that.
I'm just saying that I'm sure it happens, but Illinois, I know it's very common. As is New York.
They do that in Hawaii too. I've actually driven through them in Hawaii, but and I totally don't agree with that.
But I don't know. I mean, like, I guess it's kind of a judgment call. I mean, if she was physically woman handling him, the cop, and he wanted to protect himself, he could have tried to push her away. It just depends on the situation. There was no footage. It was just kind of an article. I just wanted to get your opinion on it.
And everybody knows that there's good cops and bad cops. So it's not like, anybody saying, I know sometimes when you bring this stuff up, you'll hear people saying, oh, well, there are good cops and they're mostly or whatever, Now, of course, I know that's true, but I also know that if there's a bad cop doing something and the other cops aren't holding them accountable
or policing their own.
Yeah, right. Then those good cops to me aren't good cops because good cops don't let bad cops do bad things without holding them accountable.
And without knowing more of the story, if she did put her hands on him, she doesn't get to say, well, I'm pregnant. And,
totally.
He still gets
that's
to
like
defend
an
himself
opportunity
if
kind of
attacking
thing.
him.
Yeah.
Right.
No, totally. I totally get it.
That could so go either way.
There's a lot of things. You see a lot of news and things on the internet about these incidents where cops are kind of overreacting in a way.
But I've seen it, though, and I do believe that they're. And what's cool is people are recording the ones that are kind of blatantly being over the top.
Yeah.
They're knowing, and people are catching them on film.
And I'll say this about the cameras that we talked about. There's like hundreds of districts that are using these across the country. And in the places where they use those, police brutality events have gone down 65% in those areas where they use those cameras. It protects the police and it protects the citizens.
Sure it does. And nowadays with the cell phone cameras, you don't know when somebody is videoing. Like
they'll have it on their dash.
A lot of people in the flick of a button on their phone be filming you. Did you hear about this thing at the Apple store where the guy got supposedly assaulted by a police officer?
No.
So the guy, some kind of thing happened in the store. They asked him to leave. He wouldn't leave. They called the cop. As soon as the cops got there and tried to restrain him, he put his hands on the cops. And the cops used necessary force to get him to the ground and then drag him out of the store. Mm-hmm. This is not the story he told to the news.
Sure.
And so like he comes on the 6:00 news saying, oh, police brutality and oh my God. And so some guy saw it on the news and he had captured most of the incident on his phone. And so he calls the whatever news station after that and says, nah, that's not exactly how it went down. Right. I got video of it right here. And so the news came to him and they actually published the guy's video. And the guy was being a jackass in the store and deserved to be kicked out. But that's one of those things where
absolutely,
police brutality definitely happens a lot. And but watch out for crying wolf too.
No, there's a lot of that. And let's be fair. Like, I have met some great police officers and I've known them. I've known a lot of great military police guys. Mm-hmm. They all have the same duty job. What I think what happens is it gets clouded in their minds. It's like you are here to protect and serve the people, not to enforce unjust statutes. The priority should be the people above everything else.
Right.
And I think we are moving more and more away from that. Especially, you could see, the cops are there just to write tickets. They are more concerned about, actually getting money for or worried about people speeding down the highway than they are actual robberies and violence and crimes and stabbings and shootings, things that, and house break-ins. And another thing that was interesting is there was a report from the National Academy of Sciences. Climate change isn't a human attribute. It's actually, they're thinking it's caused by the actual winds.
I saw that in the LA Times.
Like solar winds?
No, the actual winds. Temperature changes due to atmospheric circulation. So the actual winds itself. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, they were pointing out that, like in this case, the LA Times about the Western United States. So they were saying at a regional level like that, not necessarily global. Although I would imagine the globe is made up of different regions, so it would apply. But they were making the point that regionally speaking, that the temperatures are more affected by the winds than just normal winds than anything else, really, including man-made stuff. So because, as we've seen in many reports, in the last 15 years, there's been kind of a lull in the global warming. In fact, when greenhouse gases and mankind's putting greenhouse gases more and more into the atmosphere, the temperatures haven't gone up like they predicted. And this study was talking about something that would affect and the temperatures, and it's kept them down, I think, now because it's not as warm because there's more winds, and so that has affected the temperatures more than anything else.
Yeah, it's like the ocean and surface winds and ocean winds. And
I have one thing to say.
What?
Well, Well, it's interesting. When I was at the Seattle Times, they asked us about climate change. That was one of the things they asked us. And I told them that I believe the climate's changing and there's a lot of natural reasons for that. And that mankind, in any system, if you have an input into the system, it's going to make some effect. So I said, of course, if man does something, there's an effect, but I don't think it's as big as some people would like you to believe. And I do think I have a healthy cynicism and distrust maybe of government. And I think that politicians and policymakers will use that kind of fear mongering to take more money from you.
Absolutely.
And to have your carbon taxes paid for, because I have carbon guilt.
Right.
That's the only reason I stopped using hairspray in the 80s was because of global warming. Otherwise my hair would still be sticking up like 9 inches off of my scalp.
So I don't think the answer is to take more money from the people. That's going to save the planet. And I like it that these studies are coming out to show that it's not.
There were
just
so many.
us.
There were so many misleading, so many misleading studies that they have been putting out, manipulating the charts and the graphs,
right,
to suit their agenda.
Yeah. Certain variables in the calculation, like most of it's like 90% correct, and then they put this one variable in the feedback. Let's say they've done it. They put it in there 3 times what it should be as a variable, and it turns out then the end number is much bigger than it should be
because it's exponential or whatever.
So all their predictions that they predicted 15, 20 years ago or 30 years ago aren't happening like they said they would.
Yep.
Right. Well, apparently in the 70s, though, we were supposed to have an ice age.
Right.
And that never happened.
It was global cooling was the
danger. It was global cooling.
Be careful.
Then. Right.
Yeah. Right. And then right after that, all of our glaciers started melting.
It was just, but then they said, "Oh, we really didn't mean that." That was just, but they didn't really retract it. They just kind of
we were just kidding.
Snuck in the corner and didn't say anything. Okay, guys, I have another thing I want to talk about before.
Awesome.
This is kind of fun. I love one of the things I think are really interesting. See if we guys can guess what's going on here. But acronyms and initialisms. It's one of my favorite things in the military. I tried to decipher a lot of these things in the military. We always had the laser.
Since
scuba.
the VP is such a VIP, we should put him in the army.
I guess if anyone who's listening to the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, there's a difference between an acronym and an initialism. For example, an initialism would be the CIA. You would say, we wouldn't say, "See ya." Yeah. Hey, the CIA's here.
That would be an acronym.
If
we called him the CIA.
It's an initialism.
Or FB.
Good.
Right.
Thanks for clearing
that up.
Somebody
call the FB.
Yeah. It's initialism. So generally, majority of all the government programs are initialisms, like CIA, FBI, FDA. Those are all initialisms. Or an acronym would be
IRS.
That's an initialism.
Oh, okay.
That's a 4-letter word.
But like SCUBA is an acronym: self-contained underwater breathing apparatus.
Right.
All right. So here's ones I thought were kind of interesting.
All right. This is gonna be fun.
Now, do you know the answer to these? Or
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh, thank goodness.
All right. I hope I do. TASER is an actual acronym. Do you have any idea what it is?
I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know either until I looked this up online.
TASER.
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 Yes.
What do you got?
Are we going to guess what it is?
Yeah, I didn't know if maybe you guys might know. If you know it, jump in.
Would have to guess.
Thomas A. Swift's electric rifle.
No way.
Wow.
It's named after a guy, Thomas A. Swift.
I'm starting to think that this segment, like at the end of this segment, is when he's going to tell us we've been punked or something.
No.
I'm not sure how serious to take this at this point.
And he's been drinking all night, right?
Not all night.
All
3M.
3M.
Minnesota, Michigan, and
Montana.
Isn't it 3 states?
Nope, it's not 3 states.
3M.
Apparently, it's called Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing.
You had Minnesota. You got one of the 3s.
Yeah, you did.
We talked about this. I was playing dumb, but I used to live in Minnesota, and I was actually told by other Minnesota residents that I thought for many years that it was the 3M states, and there were
Montana, Minnesota, and Michigan,
or whatever. Yeah, how many M states are there?
But
Missouri,
but 3M makes paint
Maryland.
and tape. And I guess
what are they mining?
I don't know. And what are they manufacturing? Well, they're manufacturing tape, but like mining, what the hell?
3M makes your life better. I mean, the polymers that come out of there are just fantastic.
They used to make audio tape, recording tape.
That makes sense. Yeah. They probably do some crazy stuff. Okay, here's one everyone probably might know. BMW.
Bavarian Motor Works.
Hell yeah, Mr.
What
Paul.
Motor Works? Bavarian. Okay.
Okay, what was the original name for Q-tip? This is kind of an interesting thing. Q-tip.
I'm hoping it starts with a Q.
Actually, no, it doesn't. Well, Q-tip stands for quality tips, but the original name for Q-tips was baby gays. I am not
baby gays.
Like Gays?
Yeah.
As in happy.
Happy, yeah.
Right.
Baby happies.
Because everybody knows that, the babies are happy. I'm going to stop there.
A&W, root beer.
Adam and Wallace.
No.
Damn it. I'm no good at this.
Ellen and Wright.
Well, that's
close.
I was going to say, what was so funny about Adam
Yeah,
and
quit
Wallace?
laughing at me,
I
Johnny.
can't. Well, no, it's funny because you just made a name like it couldn't have been like All and West, or like a direction.
Alfalfa and William Wallace.
Right. Kmart.
Kmart.
Yeah, if I'm messing up the pronunciation of these names, I'm sorry.
Yes, you pronounced Kmart wrong.
So, okay, but no, that's a clue. That's a clue. It's not Kyle.
No, it ain't Kyle. You guys have any idea?
Don't say Adam and Wallace again. He's going to laugh at you.
Damn it. Yeah, see, now I'm afraid.
Fuck.
He's gonna laugh
No,
at
it's
me.
a Kruge.
What?
It's a Kreuge. Kruge.
Kruge. Wow, that sounds way fancier than Kmart.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kruge or something like that.
Oh, the Kruge family.
Remember TCBY yogurt?
Oh, yes.
I
I know somebody who owns one.
I know two things.
Is
this
that
could be.
initialism or an acronym?
Wait a minute.
It's an initialism.
It's
I think.
initialism. Hang on.
I think it's either this can't be yogurt or the country's best yogurt.
I think it's the country's
it's
best.
actually both.
What?
I can't believe this is yogurt, or I can't believe this is yogurt was the original one. They used it, and then it became the other one.
All right.
You mentioned, but they originally was. I can't believe this is yogurt.
I know a dude that went to Florida, bought a
Or this can't
TCBY.
be yogurt.
This
The
can't
thing
be
runs
yogurt, yeah.
itself. Like you. It's
think
got
you-
the computers that weigh everything.
Right.
There's like
Yeah.
one person in the store, and he lives here. He doesn't even manage the store or nothing, and he makes bank on just owning one TCBY in Florida.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess they had to change it due to some legal complications with the other yogurt places.
Oh, that other that we can't mention the name of.
Right.
Yeah, because
We don't know.
TCBY is
Because
sponsoring
they're all
us.
out of business.
Because TCBY is now officially on
We've
the
got
Johnny
an
Rocket
endorsement.
Okay, here's an interesting one. Okay, let's see if you guys know this. What kind of common knowledge? Zip code.
No, that's a good one. I'm dying to know. What do you got?
Zip code.
Zone improvement plan.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Geico.
Oh, we know that one. That's the
That's the little green guy.
Government employees insurance company.
Very good.
Nice.
Addis is all
I
over
did
it.
not know that.
And did you know, and this is the final one, this is kind of cool. The Patriot Act actually was
Initialism.
This initialism, yeah. Do you know what it is?
Oh, this ought to be good.
It's USA Patriot. That's what it says. But
USA.
there's an actual initialism. Do you know it? It's long.
Yeah, if I came up with an word for that, it wouldn't be say.
Uniting, strengthening America, but by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
That's a bit much.
And here's the last one. Yes, you know the stores. CBS stores.
CBS, like the something broadcasting system.
No, not CBS. That's
No, they're
Columbia
like it's like a
Broadcasting.
drugstore, right?
CBS. Okay.
CVS. Charlie Victor
Charlie
Sierra.
Victor Sierra. Okay.
It doesn't stand for Charlie Victor Sierra.
No,
right.
that's phonetic.
Okay.
I'm going to come up with a store. Zulu Bravo Echo. ZBE. Hell yeah, what does that stand for?
Zulu Bravo Echo.
Bravo Echo.
It's pretty cool, huh? Yeah, that's right. That's me. What do you got?
I got
Consumer
nothing.
value stores.
Oh, all right.
Well, okay.
I just thought these were
Could
kind
be
of
worse.
cool. I
Yeah.
really like initialisms.
Thank you for not using laser because I've already been shot down on that, and I don't think I could take the shot down again.
Well,
I
like,
think next week you should come in with some and quiz him
Oh, all right.
so that you have the
Yeah.
answer.
I just came prepared. It's like
He was
I
on YouTube
learned
all
these
night
yesterday.
last night.
I've been
I learned
drinking
these
since
yesterday.
3, so
So yeah, there should probably be a trivia type segment in the Johnny Rocket.
this is
Launchpad.
good. This is good.
I like
the,
where
where you're going with this.
I like the I just like there's fun little facts I think
Yeah.
are interesting. You know, I love that shit.
Fact of the day.
Anyways, this is Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. I'm here with my very special guest, Mr. Paul Addis,
Thank you for having me.
36th District, Position 2. You can find him at electpauladdis.com. This is the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, the Northwest only rock and roll libertarian radio show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Curt Nelson.
yes, sir.
My voice of reason, Miss Heather Nixon.
Have a great night.
You guys have a great night. Thank you very much for tuning in, listening to us on all of our great stations, Northwest Convergence Zone, Liberty Movement Radio, and Truth Be Told Media. Rock and roll. Visit us on the JohnnyRocketLaunchpad.com. See you next week. Rock and roll. Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. And we're going to rock and roll Halloween, for damn sake. October 31st, Friday, we have the Hot Roddin' Romeos.
Six Gun Romeo.
Little Ray and the Uppercuts.
And the Echo Devils.
So join us as we get down with Johnny Rocket's Launchpad at Stonegate for a great night of music, costume contest, and much more. More information online at nwczradio.com.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. We're new to the truthbetoldmedia.com. Please check out our show every Saturday, Eastern,